Hello, folks. Thanks for your time. My name is Criss Hochhold, and I'm a retired RCMP officer. I'm also You can't? Can you guys not hear me? I can't swallow with a mic, you know. My name is Criss Hochhold, and I'm a retired RCMP officer. I'm also a first-year law student. I served nearly 22 years, most of those years right here in Nova Scotia, and I did so with immense pride. I'm a member of Police on Guard, of Mounties for Freedom. You may have seen the letter. Excellent, I hope you all signed it, because it's available to anyone. I'm also part of a council that has been working in the background, and I'm working with lawyers and citizens to fight these mandates. I want to thank each and every single person who has come to show your support, and those who are unable to come by supporting this movement in other ways. I want you to know that you're all Lionhearts. A Lionheart is someone who is brave and determined, someone that has grit, determination, and the courage to fight for what they know is right. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're here, we're standing up. As a police officer, I swore an oath to protect all people residing in Canada and to uphold those laws and serve with honor, and I did that. Canadian police officers swear oaths to uphold just laws, to ensure the health and safety of all Canadians, and just like police officers all around the globe are supposed to. And I'm in a state of shock and disbelief of what is happening in this world. Sadly, there are officers who also get caught up in the narrative, who are also persuaded by the constant bombardment of propaganda, who will issue tickets for traveling outside of the county you live in, or even for attending faith services. Officers who forgot to use discretion and be humble and kind towards their fellow humans, especially in times of great difficulty. But there are others, retired like me, and active, like some that are in the crowd with you. Those who cannot publicly speak out for a while longer, but who are fighting the good fight. I'm in daily communication with police officers throughout Canada who very much stand for freedom, who are pro-rights and pro-choice. I want to reassure you that you do not stand alone, but rather that you stand with those who know what is happening is wrong. And we're growing stronger by the day.
Make an announcement that at Superstore they're putting boots on people's cars.
At the Superstore they're putting boots on people's cars, so if you parked at the Superstore, you might want to have a look.
Just hold your speech for a second.
Yeah. Well, at least we know parking enforcement's working. Yeah.
Maybe at the beginning of the march we should go there for you. A lot of boots, yeah.
Truths are starting to emerge. The more we speak up, the more we become involved. The more, don't look at how many pages I got. The more we unite, the more powerful we become, and the less powerful those who are driving the divide become. They know we are rising, and they know we won't give up. What began as an unknown potential threat to health and safety in early 2020 evolved into an absolute threat of our health and safety. Though not through the SARS-CoV-2 virus, but through the people that were elected and appointed. Those who occupy current political positions have guaranteed incomes. What losses have they suffered? They continue to get their pay, their grossly inflated pensions and benefit, while others are losing their jobs, their careers, leaving education, losing their homes and their businesses. People who have worked so hard to get to where they are. And because they stand for freedom, because they stand for their charter and constitutional rights, because they stand for what they believe in, they ought to lose everything. Those, exactly, no, thanks. Someone answered, thank you, yeah, it's like, yeah. Some feedback is good, thank you. Those very people who stood up and made promises to look after the people who elected them have not only turned their backs on so many of those who voted for them, but have outright declared them as unworthy as being part of society. Focusing but on a single health issue, they have entirely ignored the much more serious adverse events and restrictions and mandates brought and continue to bring in. Like my paramedic and firefighter colleagues have already said, the impact on mental health in all ages, anxiety and depression rising, substance use disorders rising, domestic abuse, child abuse and suicides, those who have medical screenings and surgeries cancelled, those who have had illnesses that are now terminal because of delayed access to medical care, to name a few. Severe adverse events that impact so many, but are felt or seen by seemingly so few. Unfortunately, not by those apparently that make the calls for us. They need to see more of it. Mandates and restrictions that dictate how those who choose to exercise their rights and freedoms may go about their lives, which sports and activities those children can engage in, which venues and places they can go. Yet just a few days ago, an adult hockey league in Ontario, comprised only of those who were fully vaccinated, had a COVID-19 outbreak. One passed away. There are now more than 1,700 cases of COVID-19 within a 2-week span among the fully vaccinated in Ontario. Why is it shunned to ask questions? Only since COVID-19 has it not been okay to ask for both sides of the argument from the medical and scientific communities. Communities which used to follow established scientific principles and guidelines. Instead, those are put into narrative or hailed as experts, while those who are world-renowned experts are discredited and ignored. Where is the logic which prevents those who choose not to get vaccinated from participating in sports, going to the gym, and from supporting local restaurants who are trying to recover from their losses they incurred from lockdown after lockdown? It's clear this government would rather let businesses struggle and fail than admit that the policies and mandates have been and continue to be deployed without full consideration of current science and facts. These mandates and restrictions that are aimed at the residents who are exercising their rights are not reasonable, not warranted, and they're not justified. They are simply a measure of punishment to coerce people to throw away their rights and succumb to the government machine. The governments are urging people to be afraid of other people. Doesn't that sound familiar? The government's telling us that we know what's best for you, and at the same time telling people that those who are not vaccinated, quote, we're not like them. Don't invite them. They need to be shunned and publicly shamed even. They should lose their homes, their jobs. How dare we stay silent? How do we accept governments that are pro-segregation, pro-division, pro-discrimination, anti-freedom and anti-rights for a segment of the population? In the 1950s, the Canadian government passed laws that gave the police and medical authorities the power to seize, examine, and treat Indigenous peoples who had infectious diseases. If they refused medical treatment, Indigenous people faced fines and imprisonment. Has history taught us nothing? Is this not the same road we are on now? We failed to stand up then for equality, for rights and freedoms. Let us not fail to stand up now. We do not want a prime minister in 50 years from now apologizing to those survivors whose rights and liberties were taken away today. We need to unite, and we need to say no. Our rights will be respected. Our rights will be honored. We are here today to show our strength and our unity as humans. I'm a firm believer in the Canadian Constitution, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Canadian Bill of Rights, and the Canadian Human Rights Act. These rights were put into writing to stop people we elected from running amok. Those rights that many of our forefathers fought for, many of whom paid the ultimate price and gave their lives. Those brave soldiers who fought in the wars, those brave women who continued on and helped the home front while their loved ones went to the war. The ones we pay our respects to every November 11th. What would they think? Would they not urge us to try to stop those elected from taking our rights and our freedoms if they could? You're damn right they would. They gave their lives so that we could have those very rights and freedoms that so many are willingly and ignorantly giving away. Not knowing that those very rights we gave up now, future generations won't even know we had. The freedoms to decide where to travel to on vacation, to visit friends and family in other parts of Canada, what local small businesses to support, the rights to work and earn a living, of liberty and equality, or the right to decide what goes into my body, the right to determine what goes into the body of my child who cannot give informed consent.
That's right.
We have the right to decline medical treatment knowing it could cost us our lives, but the politicians and appointees who are dictating our lives think that they have the right to coerce and blackmail us to partake in the world's largest unethical medical experiment? How dare they? The rights and freedoms to choose what is best for me and my family are guaranteed under the Charter and the Constitution. They're guaranteed for us as residents or citizens, as taxpayers, as people, as human beings. I urge every Nova Scotian, every Canadian, to remind every other Nova Scotian and Canadian who enjoys the rights and freedoms we are guaranteed to stand up with those whose rights and freedoms are so carelessly trampled on and to help stop the divide. If people don't stand up and rise up and don't stop these breaches and infringements from continuing, it's but a matter of time before these tyrants further and further erode those rights and freedoms for the ordinary person. People need to understand that the rights and freedoms, not just taken from the unvaccinated, they're also taken from the vaccinated. Some people may agree that the government mandates and restrictions are right now, but at what point do you draw the line in the sand? Is it with booster shot 5 or 7 or 12? What I want are governments to be there for all residents, to treat us all equally, to govern, not to rule, to do what is in the best interest of every resident and citizen, to respect and honor the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Constitution and the Human Rights Act. It's there for every single resident. Groups I'm in with are contacted on a daily basis by people in various levels of government, in healthcare, in law and law enforcement, policymakers, business owners, and others. Their moral compasses recalibrated. They are now ready to take a stand. Absolutely. It's not too late. Reach out. You can make a difference towards the preservation of our rights and freedoms and to those of future generations. You can email me. My email is grittylion@protonmail.com. Reach out. We have groups. We have alliances. Gritty Lion.
Spell it out.
GRITTYLION.
Yeah, slow down.
Even slower. I'll sing it. No, just kidding. I'm not going to torture anyone. It's GRITTYLION @protonmail.com.
Oh, Gritty Lion.
Gritty Lion. Oh, sorry, it's my accent. I'm an immigrant. What I am.
Can you tell them what Proton Mail is?
Proton Mail is just an email address, right? So a secure email address.
It's an encrypted email engine. So it's a safe email engine.
Yeah, it's Proton Mail is it's posted out of Switzerland, so you have more guarantees of privacy than you do with Gmail, for which you have none, or Hotmail, or any of those. Anyhow, I'll carry on. In closing, basically, to borrow a little from Malcolm X, speaking like this doesn't mean that we're anti-vaccine, but it does mean that we're anti-degradation, anti-oppression, pro-rights, pro-choice, and pro-freedoms. In closing, because I've talked long enough now, it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that said, "There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, no politic, no popular, but he must take it because his conscience tells him it is right." What is your conscience telling you? Thank you very much for your time and attention.